You see, I would say it's high time to get back to work. Maybe not drive this exact one, but something very similar. I've waited a long time for this. Before you and I put the hammer down today, we need to do a little math. About 14 months ago, you and I drove the then new 992 on a track in Spain. Now we have the new 992 Turbo. This is about 200 horsepower more than that car. So put another way, about 50% more horsepower, and it's lugging around only a little bit more than 10% extra weight. So with that, bist du fertig? Ich auch. Oh my God. Did you expect anything less? Now granted, I'm in normal mode, I'm not pushing it ridiculously fast. That said, what is far more interesting is not the 640 horsepower, it's the way in which it delivers that much power. As we've learned over many years now, turbos are all-wheel drive systems. Here, the power, yes, explosive, cannot separate that from a Porsche 911 Turbo, but here I come out of the turn, get back on the gas, and God, there's such forward torque. It's otherworldly, but still usable at exactly the same time. And I've driven a lot of cars, and I can't honestly tell you this combination exists in many other applications. And now, this. And a little bit behind the scenes, we were supposed to drive this car on a racetrack, not just any racetrack, but specifically Laguna Seca. I really wanted to do that. And I would argue it's important for a car like this because we don't want to be passed by vans, so you need to take it to a place where you can demonstrate 640 horsepower. So with that, let's go into Sport Plus. Now we're in the right mode, and let's see if we can catch up to that van, shall we? Get into this lane here, and this lane here, and there we go. Oh my God! I really want to take this on a racetrack. Really want to take this on a racetrack. Yes, we caught the van, but Santa Maria, Madre de Dios, you expected it to be fast. And I would argue perhaps even too much power for most people on public roads. So yeah, we need to find a racetrack. That is all. Okay, I'll bite. M. Now the reason why we're doing that is downshift, not just to make it sound cool, but we need to understand the usability of this application of this transmission, because we drove it in the previous 992, because it's the same transmission, but we learned in the tech review they made some slight changes to make it work in this turbo, this 992 Turbo. And really what I'm trying to understand is just usability difference. Like here we are downshifting ridiculous amounts. And really what I'm trying to understand is usability differences. There it didn't even bounce off the red line, although you can get it to bounce off the red line. But notice the shifts aren't any, I can't downshift there. Well, okay, there, let me downshift there. I can't honestly tell you the shifts are either harder or different than in the car with 50%, almost 50% less horsepower. So really what we've learned here is the usability is effectively the same, even though we're adding more power, more weight, and some slight changes to the transmission. So remember when I geeked out about the whole new turbo engine, the variable turbine geometry turbochargers, even to the granularity of the size of the impeller wheels? Well, I kind of sandbagged them. Because yeah, I told you the output, but I didn't separate the output. And that's important because this is an all-wheel drive car. And if you are familiar with the inherent design flaws of a flat 4 or a flat 6 engine, torque is kind of in limited supply. So folks like Porsche, they have to practically read hieroglyphics and translate it into these engines to get torque out of these things. So in reality, to be able to send torque to the front wheels, that's a whole different kettle of fish too. But what they've done here in the 992 Turbo is they're able to get 368 pounds of torque to the front wheels. Now, why is this important? It's important because it makes the all-wheel drive system more usable, and not just for inclement weather, but for performance applications as well. Now, in thinking about this, it's particularly challenging for a 911 because there really isn't weight over the front wheels. What you've got is an axle, that's about it. What we learned in the 992 on the track was there wasn't that typical 911 characteristic where there was almost this float to the steering. The front end would come up. Here, adding more power, more rubber, and a little bit more weight, I expected this to degrade, to recede a bit from the perfection that was in the 992, the base car on the track. Here, there is no degradation. The steering is just as effective to the point where you point and go. Yes, it is indeed that time again to play your favorite game and mine, the options game, with today's magnificent contestant, the 2021 Porsche 911 Turbo, otherwise known as the 992 Turbo, for a suggested base price of $203,500. To that, we add a lovely shade of carmine red for $3,270, a black interior. That is full leather, is free. Then we add the window trim in high gloss black, $510. The 911 Turbo S logo, also in high gloss black, $270. I'd like to point out that that is part of the Porsche exclusive manufacture program. So basically, you know how we talk about bespoke cars? You can do all sorts of bespoke stuff. That's part of it. The 8-speed Porsche Doppelkupplungsgetriebe, that's free. PASM Sport suspension, so lowered 10 millimeters, that is $1,510, money well spent. The Sport exhaust, for the first time available in a 992 Turbo, with the tailpipes in black. Also, Porsche exclusive manufacture, $3,490 for an exhaust. Power steering plus, $280. Will someone tell me what kind of a world we're living in where we have to pay extra for power steering in a $200,000 car? 20-inch wheels in the front, 21-inch wheels in the back. That's not the part that's optional. It's the Turbo S exclusive design wheels, also Porsche exclusive manufacture. That is $2,490. Might I add, that is quite a bargain. Then the wheels painted in high gloss black. I spoke too soon. That is an additional $1,290, also part of Porsche exclusive manufacture. LED matrix design headlights in black. Man, super cool party trick on that one. Well worth it at $750. Also, Porsche exclusive manufacture. Surround view camera, $1,430. That's as much as one of the most expensive iPhones. Perhaps get one of those instead. Lane keep assist with traffic sign recognition, $1,220. Adaptive cruise control, optional on a $200,000 car, $2,000. Lane change assist, I thought we had lane keep assist. Lane change assist, that's an additional $1,060. Adaptive sport seats plus with 18-way adjustments and memory package, that's free. Heated steering wheel, that's also free. Somebody has been watching the options game and obviously giving us more stuff here. And now here's something new. Included the first year 10,000 miles of maintenance, first year or 10,000 miles of maintenance. That is also free, leaving us with one item left, and that is the delivery of $1,250 for a total retail price of $224,320. She's lovely though, isn't she? So a pragmatic note to fans of both Apple CarPlay and Porsche. Those of you that have a Porsche know very well that Porsche supports anything you want as long as it's Apple CarPlay. Now previously that was wired, meaning you had to connect it via the USB cable to the car. In the 992 generation, specifically this turbo, this is now on offer with both a USB connectivity as well as wireless Apple CarPlay. Now, if you have been watching this show for a while, you are very familiar with the concept of PASM in the Porsche world, which is to say adjustable suspension. But the definition of PASM kind of changes depending on the Porsche you're talking about. Like, for example, in Panameras and Cayennes, that means a 3-chamber air ride system that makes those very large cars defy physics on the road. But over the many years, we've driven 981, 718 Boxers and Caymans, or 991.2s, 991.1s. They also have a derivation of PASM, but they also have an option of PASM with a sport suspension, which is to say adjustable suspension that starts out 10 mils lower in ride height than a standard PASM or non-PASM car. However, in the Porsche world, there has been a notable exception of this PASM with sport suspension, and I'll let you take a wild guess which one that was. Up until now, 992 turbos now can be fitted with PASM and sport suspension, which is to say 10 mil lower ride height, and this one ending in 099. So this is one of the first 100 992 turbos ever built. It's a German market car. It is visiting us here in the US. We're going to have to find out how that PASM plus sport works. So why don't we go do that now? I can already tell there is much more, well, much is probably a bridge too far, but there is more composure in this 911 turbo with this suspension that's fitted to it. I can drive aggressively because here I'm really pushing this thing out of the plane of motion by going downhill this aggressively. Please don't try this at home, especially around a turn like this, and you can see it's virtually flat cornering. Here's what boggles my mind about this. Car's already like 200 grand. Why do they make the PASM with sport suspension optional on the 911 turbo? During my recovery, you saw an episode on the 2020 Corvette C8 with Roman Micah of TFL Car, and one of his favorite features was the front axle lift system. Not that front axle lift is something that's novel. It's been on many cars for many years. It's been on 911s for years. Lamborghinis especially, they need them. Because think, when you hit the front of one of these cars, especially when it's all carbon fiber, that's expensive. I can tell you because I've owned many Elises and I've paid multiple times to get this bit here fixed. This one, now granted it's extended here, this is rubber, this is in performance package, so this is normally not the case. What the front axle lift system does here, it can go up, 41 millimeters or 1.6 inches, which is what the Corvette can do. But the Corvette also has a party trick in that it's GPS based, so you can program 1,000 locations. So like your house, if you have a steep driveway, or your underground garage at your office, or your friend's lake house in a dirt driveway, whatever it is, 1,000 locations. Zuffenhausen, they really couldn't be outdone, so this now has a GPS-based front axle lift system. The only question is I don't know how many locations you can program. So did I mention in the tech review that this is the first ever application in the Porsche world of more than 6 pistons in the front calipers? I know I mentioned that carbon ceramic rotors are fitted to standard dual turbos now, but the whole thing about 10 pistons in the front, 4 in the back. So with that, shall we? Oh yes, I love this part of the car, and stop. Okay, we expected it to work unusually well, and as a Porsche, the hazards come on when there is a panic stop. Here's what I need to understand, and it's really out of the purview of my test. It's not whether those brakes work. You and I both know they're gonna work, and work incredibly well, and probably work fade-free at a track day, which I hope to get to. However, my question would be usability, longevity, and reliability using this car around town, because people who drive unusual GT models, those are the ones that take them to tracks. These cars generally live around town, so what would be the cost of replacing the rotors, the pads, but also how long would those pads last in between intervals? And that's something only I could tell if I were testing the car on a long-term basis, like more than a year. So maybe we've come up with a new idea. I keep this car for a year and get back to you on the brakes. Now there is one option that I did not cover in this round of the options game that's not fitted to this car, but is on offer in 992 turbos, and that's a lightweight option package. It's a whole bunch of stuff, and the idea is to lower the weight, but it's only 66 pounds, so I don't know really how worth it is. It's made up of a couple things. The seats change, so it's a lighter weight bucket seat. They take out some of the sound deadening. They make the PASM sport suspension and the sport exhaust standard in that package, so it's part of that package if you didn't get it elsewhere. And then last but not least, it takes out the rear seat. I like that, but 66 pounds? I mean, if they were talking 300 pounds, I'd be with you. As you can imagine, I have very much looked forward to getting this car and driving it. However, this is the one part that I am not looking forward to, and that is our top secret torture chamber that is Portuguese Bend. With that, let's handicap it a bit, put it in Sport Plus. We're already in sport mode, and push it hard, and hopefully I have some intestines after this. Going up the hill here, and wow, that's actually not terrible. I wouldn't call that compliant. There was a little bit of that 911 steering feel when you're going aggressively on some broken pavement. Okay, so it works, but we have to come to a strong finish, shall we? And this is the roller coaster part, and see if it launches, and it doesn't. Wow. And here's what's surprising about that. Achim, you remember him, he's the guy that runs all of chassis dynamics for Porsche. They seem to have found a happy medium, where there is flat cornering, as we saw earlier, but when we need it in ride quality, it gives a little bit back. You're going to accuse me of deja vu here because we're at the end of the episode. Once again, I'm going to say that is not entirely everything about a 992 turbo, and really it falls into two buckets. You see, a car with significantly high limits like this, you can't effectively demonstrate all of it on public roads. Not that I'm not grateful for the opportunity to drive the car. In fact, I'm very grateful and somewhat blown away because Porsche had to take all of these assets that were destined for a global drive event at a racetrack and on a moment's notice had to redeploy them because of the realities of what's going on in our world today. We still got to have fun with the car. We just couldn't get to the stuff like the active aero, the rear wheel steer, the stuff where you really get into those high limits to understand the differences. And then there's the other bucket. Notice the car behind me is entirely different than the one we drove in this episode. So why don't you and I set a date? Let's drive this in, say, what, 2 weeks together? In that time, Brian will be coming to you with another episode. His car is significantly more obnoxious than this, although I personally would rather have this. And then you'll see some other guest hosts coming up towards the end of April and into May, and I'll be coming back with some more episodes, but the first one that you will see me driving another car will be this Carrera White 911 Turbo S Cabriolet. So until I see you in that episode, I'm going to say thank you for all of your support throughout my recovery. Thank you for being so gracious to my guest host, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bis später.